the tear behind the smile. The sun had just started to rise behind the hills, casting a warm golden glow over the quiet movie set, nestled on the edge of a sleepy California town. The crew moved like shadows, silent and swift, adjusting lights and checking props for the day's shoot. But beneath the calm surface, something didn't feel right. There was a tension in the air, subtle but undeniable. Keanu Reeves, dressed in simple jeans and a faded hoodie, arrived early as he always did. He didn't make a scene. He never did. Instead, he walked with a quiet humility, greeting the crew with a nod or a soft word of encouragement. He believed that kindness didn't need to be loud to be powerful. His presence alone often made people feel calmer, safer. Even if they didn't fully understand why, he stepped into the makeup trailer to grab a bottle of water when he overheard a hushed conversation between two assistants. They were whispering about Ana de Armas, who was set to film an emotionally heavy scene that morning. Something had happened the night before. She had left the set in tears, barely speaking a word. No one knew the full story. No one dared ask. Keanu paused, frowning slightly. He had worked with Ana before. She was a professional, warm, talented, and full of heart. But this industry wasn't kind, not always. Sometimes, people wore smiles like armor, while inside they were breaking. He made his way to the soundstage, where he noticed her trailer door slightly ajar. Soft sniffles drifted out like a fragile melody trying to hide behind silence. He didn't knock. Instead, he waited quietly outside, leaning on the trailer wall, giving her space but staying close enough in case she needed someone. Inside, Ana sat on the small couch with her head in her hands. The script pages lay scattered on the floor. Her phone was on silent. Unread messages from her mother, who had just gone into surgery back in Cuba, blinked coldly on the screen. The studio had told her they couldn't delay production, not even for a day. They had deadlines, investors, expectations. Her heart ached with helplessness. She had smiled through the fittings, posed for promo photos, rehearsed every line, but none of it felt real. She felt like a puppet with beautiful strings, dancing in front of cameras while her world quietly crumbled. Then came a gentle knock. Not loud, just one soft tap. She quickly wiped her face and opened the door, expecting maybe an assistant or someone from wardrobe. Instead, it was Keanu. "I brought you something," he said softly, holding out a small package wrapped in brown paper with a red ribbon. She blinked, confused. "Why?" He didn't answer immediately. He just gestured toward the little table inside her trailer. She stepped aside and let him in. "I've had this for a while," he said, placing the package on the table. "I was going to give it to someone else once, but I think maybe you need it more right now." She hesitated, then slowly unwrapped the package. Inside was a worn-out paperback book, its edges frayed, its pages yellowed. On the cover were the faded words, "The Art of Holding On When Everything Wants to Fall Apart." Ana looked up, her eyes full of questions. "Why this book?" Keanu sat down gently across from her. "Because someone gave it to me when I thought I couldn't keep going, and they told me something I never forgot. They said, when the world tries to break you, give it a reason to remember your strength." Ana's lips trembled. She hadn't told anyone about her mother. She hadn't told anyone how close she was to quitting the movie. She felt exposed, but not judged. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel alone. "You always know exactly what to say," she whispered. He smiled softly, then leaned forward. "I don't know much, but I know pain when I see it. And I know that pretending to be strong is exhausting. You don't have to pretend with me." They sat in silence for a while. Not awkward silence, but a healing kind, like the quiet that follows a storm, like the space where wounds begin to breathe. Then suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. A voice shouted from outside, panic thick in the air. "Keanu, you need to come now! Someone's broken into your trailer!" Ana's eyes widened. Keanu stood quickly, his calm expression hardening just slightly, just enough to show concern. He turned to her, resting a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You'll be okay today. I know you will." And then he left, walking into the growing storm that had just been unleashed outside. What he didn't know, what no one knew, was that the break-in wasn't random. Something was hidden inside his trailer, something dangerous, and someone had just discovered it. A hidden truth inside the silence. Keanu moved swiftly across the lot, his boots crunching lightly against the gravel as he neared his trailer. A small crowd had already gathered, grips, production assistants, even a few cast members peering from a distance. The door to his trailer hung open at an angle, the lock broken clean through. Someone had forced their way in, but it wasn't the work of a desperate fan or reckless thief. No posters were taken, no memorabilia touched. The only thing missing was silence. As Keanu stepped inside, the chaos around him dimmed, like the world was holding its breath. His trailer wasn't luxurious, just comfortable, clean, intentional, the kind of space where someone could think, reflect, breathe. Now, it looked like someone had ransacked it with precision. Every drawer pulled out, papers disturbed, but nothing of real value, nothing visible, was gone. Except one thing. Keanu's eyes stopped on the corner shelf, where a small, dusty wooden box had always rested. It had been there for years. Most people never noticed it. But now, its absence screamed. That box didn't contain anything flashy. No money, no jewels, just memories. Letters from his late sister, some photos from a part of his life he rarely talked about, and a sealed envelope he'd never opened. Something his sister had left behind, something he was too afraid to face. Until now, it had simply existed, untouched, unseen. He stared at the empty space, and a strange mix of sadness and dread bloomed quietly in his chest. It wasn't just the theft that troubled him. It was the feeling that someone had known exactly what to look for. Behind him, a soft voice broke through the haze. "Sir, do you know what they might have been after?" Keanu turned to see a young security guard, probably no older than 23, looking pale and uncertain. Keanu studied the kid for a moment before speaking. They weren't after fame. They were after something personal. The guard shifted awkwardly. "We're checking cameras, but the feed was cut out right before it happened. Someone knew how to disable it." Keanu gave a small nod, though his mind was already racing ahead. This wasn't random. It wasn't reckless. Someone had known where that box was, what it might contain, and when to strike. And the worst part? They'd gotten away clean. Meanwhile, across the lot, Anna had stepped out of her trailer. She had changed into her costume, makeup half done, face composed, but not completely. There was a softness around her eyes now, as if part of the weight had lifted, but another part had returned when she heard about the break-in. She looked around, searching the faces of the crew until she spotted Keanu near the steps of his trailer, standing alone, his hands deep in his pockets. She walked over quietly, feeling an instinct she couldn't quite explain. Something about the way he stood, shoulders slightly drawn, gaze distant, made her heart ache. "What did they take?" she asked gently. He didn't look at her right away. His voice came slowly, almost as if the words hurt to say. "A box, some old letters, and a part of the past I wasn't ready to let go of yet." Anna didn't press for more. She just stood there beside him, not needing to fix anything, not needing to speak, just offering the same silent strength he'd given her that morning. Finally, Keanu exhaled deeply. "I think this wasn't about me, not really." Anna furrowed her brow. "What do you mean?" He turned to her now, his expression shadowed but clear. "I think someone wanted me to find something, or remember something. And maybe the only way they knew how was to take it away first." The idea seemed strange, even surreal. but there was a truth in his voice that made it hard to dismiss. And then, as if on cue, one of the assistant directors jogged toward them, holding a small folded piece of paper. "Keanu, this was taped to the underside of your desk. It's not from us. We found it when we were checking the trailer." Keanu took the note with steady hands, unfolding it slowly. His eyes scanned the brief message. The words were handwritten, precise, familiar. Sometimes the things we lock away are the very things we need to face. "She told me to give this to you when the time was right. The time is now. Check the envelope you never opened, before someone else does." Anna watched his face as he read, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw something like fear flicker behind his calm eyes. He folded the note without a word, then looked at her with a new intensity. "I need to leave the set for a few hours." "You're not going alone," she said without hesitation. He looked at her, surprised, but only for a second. Then he nodded. "Thank you." As the two of them walked to his old Mustang parked by the side gate, the wind picked up, swirling. Dust into the air like a quiet omen. Neither of them knew what they were walking into. Neither of them knew what that sealed envelope truly contained. But they both knew this wasn't just about a stolen box or a broken trailer. This was about something deeper, something waiting to be uncovered, something that could change everything. The envelope and the echo, the drive out of the city was quiet, yet thick with unspoken thoughts. Keanu's fingers gripped the steering wheel gently but firmly, the wind whispering past the half-open windows of the Mustang as if trying to fill the silence they weren't yet ready to break. Anna sat beside him, her gaze fixed out the window, though her mind wasn't on the scenery. She could feel something shifting inside Keanu. It was like watching someone peel back a layer they had, long ago sealed with quiet pain. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. She understood what it meant to carry invisible burdens. She carried some of her own. They turned off the freeway after an hour, heading down a narrow country road lined with tall, swaying trees that formed an arch of dappled sunlight. The Mustang came to a slow halt in front of a modest cabin tucked behind an old iron gate. The place looked almost forgotten, like time had passed around it rather than through it. Wild grass brushed against the sides of the wooden steps, and dust clung to the windows like memories refusing to be wiped away. Keanu got out without a word. Anna followed. "You used to live here?" she asked softly. "No," he said. "She did." Anna knew he meant his sister, the one he rarely spoke of, the one whose letters had been taken. He unlocked the door and stepped inside. The air was still, filled with the scent of old wood and something faintly floral, lavender maybe. The house was clean, untouched by recent life but preserved with care. Anna wandered into the living room while Keanu walked straight to a small shelf near the fireplace. From behind a row of faded books, he pulled out a plain white envelope, slightly yellowed with age. No name on the front. Just one word written in delicate ink. Someday. He held it for a long time, staring at it like it might speak first. Then slowly, he broke the seal. Anna watched from across the room as he unfolded the letter inside. She saw his eyes move left to right, line after line, his expression unreadable. But then something changed. His breathing slowed. His lips parted, slightly as if trying to whisper something but forgetting how. He looked up suddenly, eyes glassy, stunned. "She knew," he said in a voice so soft Anna almost missed it. She knew about everything. Anna walked over gently, sitting across from him on the old sofa. What did she say? He handed her the letter with shaking fingers. Anna read silently, the words revealing a truth neither of them could have expected. "If you're reading this, then I know the box is gone and the past has found its way back. Keanu, the people who hurt me, they weren't strangers. They were close, someone on the inside. And I think they're still watching. Not for me, but for you. You always thought my death was natural. but I don't believe it was. I just didn't want to break your heart then. I need you to be careful. They might come after you next." Anna stared at the letter, the chill of it sinking into her skin. She thought she was murdered. Keanu nodded slowly. And now someone's trying to erase the truth. "What was in the box?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Letters," he said, "and a list, names. Some she trusted, some she feared. I never read it. I thought burying it was safer than knowing." Anna exhaled deeply, her mind spinning. "And now it's in someone else's hands." Keanu stood up abruptly, pacing the floor like a man trying to outrun the walls closing in around him. "I thought if I focused on the work, if I just kept moving forward, the past would stay buried," he said. "But that was never going to happen. Not when someone out there is still pulling strings." Anna walked up to him and placed a hand on his arm. "You're not alone in this. Not anymore." He looked at her, something unspoken passing between them. Trust, maybe, or something deeper, an unbreakable understanding forged not through years, but through shared scars. A phone buzzed suddenly. Anna checked it. A message from one of the assistants on set. "Someone just dropped a manila envelope off at your trailer. No name, no return address. Just one word written on the front. Run." Keanu read the message over her shoulder. His jaw tightened. "They're not just watching," he said. "They're warning us." Anna looked at him, her voice steady. "Then we stopped running." But just as the words left her lips, the sound of tires on gravel echoed outside the cabin. They both turned to the window. A black SUV had pulled up to the gate. "Did you tell anyone we were coming here?" she asked quickly. Keanu shook his head. "No one. Not even the crew knows about this place." The SUV's engine shut off. Doors opened. 3 figures stepped out, dressed in black, moving with purpose. Not press, not fans, not friends. Keanu stepped back from the window, pulling Anna with him. His voice was low but firm. "We need to get out. Now." As they moved toward the back, door footsteps began crunching down the gravel path. Shadows stretched toward the front porch. Anna glanced back, her heart racing. "Who are they?" Keanu didn't answer, but in his eyes, there was something she had never seen before. Fear, not for himself but for her. The cabin, the chase, and the code. The creak of the cabin's old wooden floor beneath their hurried steps was the only sound Keanu and Anna could hear as they slipped out the back door and into the overgrown garden that lay behind the property. Thick hedges and wild branches brushed against their arms, the sharp scent of pine and earth filling the air. Keanu led the way, moving with silent precision, his instincts sharper than most would expect from someone known for playing quiet roles on screen. But in moments like this, Anna saw something deeper, an alertness forged through life, not acting. He wasn't just escaping danger. He was protecting something sacred. And now, that included her. The two of them ducked behind a weathered tool shed, crouching low as the faint crunch of boots against gravel echoed from the front yard. 3 men, maybe 4. They were moving slowly, deliberately, like they already knew their targets weren't far. Keanu looked over at Anna, meeting her eyes with a steady calm, though she could see the tension in his jaw. "There's a trail through the trees," he whispered. "It leads to a clearing and an old ranger station. If we make it there, we can circle back to the car later." Anna nodded, without hesitation. "I'm with you." They moved fast, slipping into the woods like shadows. The trees closed around them, their thick branches and swaying leaves offering temporary cover. Behind them, the cabin remained quiet, but they both knew that silence could turn deadly at any second. As they ran, Anna couldn't shake the questions spiraling in her mind. Who were these men? What did they want with a box of old letters? And why now? Why had someone waited all these years to make a move? Keanu had his theories, though none gave him peace. His sister had worked on a government contract once, something buried deep within the world of data encryption and sensitive communications. She'd told him bits and pieces, but he never paid attention. He thought she was safe. Thought her world didn't overlap with his. Now it seemed her past had reached out from the grave, dragging him into its storm. After nearly half an hour of weaving through the dense forest, they reached the ranger station, a forgotten wooden building, with boarded-up windows and a rusted sign that barely clung to the wall. Keanu kicked open the door and they slipped inside. The air smelled of damp wood and dust, but it was shelter. Anna sat down against the wall, catching her breath. Keanu searched the drawers of a decaying desk until he found an old flare gun and a battered radio, long dead from years of neglect. He tossed them aside, then pulled out the letter again. "There's something more in here," he muttered, unfolding the paper under the dim light seeping through the cracks. Anna crawled over, beside him. "What do you mean?" She mentioned a list. But there's no list in the letter. Just a few names hidden in the middle of a paragraph. "Look, each capitalized word spells something." Anna leaned in, eyes scanning the letter. Sure enough, some words were oddly placed, too formal, too deliberate. She read them aloud, softly. Raymond, Bishop, Holland, Claire, Vanguard. Keanu looked at her. They're code names, or aliases. These aren't just people she feared. They're connected, maybe part of a network. And whoever broke into the trailer, they're trying to clean it all up. Anna's phone buzzed again. She glanced at the screen. Another anonymous message. "We warned you. You should have left it alone. Next time we won't just knock." She showed it to Keanu. His face hardened. "They're watching every move we make, but they made a mistake coming after you." Anna raised an eyebrow. "Me? They think threatening someone close to me will make me back down." She tilted her head slightly, curiosity rising. "Close?" He met her gaze, quiet and unflinching. "You stayed when you could have walked away. That means something." She felt a heat rise behind her eyes, unexpected but real. In this moment of fear and uncertainty, she didn't feel small or helpless. She felt like she mattered, but their fragile peace was shattered by a crack of a branch outside. Then another. Someone was circling the building. Keanu stood quickly, motioning for her to move behind a wall partition. He grabbed the flare gun, the only weapon they had, and aimed it at the door. The wood splintered suddenly as the door flew open. A man in black stepped in, flashlight beam cutting across the dark. Keanu didn't hesitate. He fired the flare, bright, hot, and sudden. It slammed into the wall beside the man, sending sparks into the air and blinding him. Keanu rushed forward, tackling the intruder, struggling in the dirt-covered floor of the station. Anna grabbed a broken chair leg and swung it hard, knocking the man unconscious with a desperate cry. They both stood there, hearts racing, chest heaving as smoke drifted. Through the room, Keanu knelt beside the man, rifling through his pockets until he found a black phone. Locked, no ID. But tucked in the inside pocket of his jacket was a photo. It was of Keanu and Anna, together, taken that morning. Anna's voice broke the silence. They planned this. Keanu stared at the photo, then slowly folded it, tucking it into his pocket. "This goes deeper than my sister," he said, almost to himself. "They're tying up loose ends, and we just became targets." A sound outside, more footsteps. They didn't have long. "We can't outrun them forever," Anna whispered. "We don't have to," Keanu replied, his eyes sharp now. "We just have to expose the truth before they can bury it." As they slipped out the back of the station and into the night, Keanu held the coded letter tight in his hand, unaware that someone very familiar was watching them from the trees, someone he thought he'd never see again, someone who wasn't supposed to be alive. The ghost who never left. The forest seemed darker now, not just from the night settling in, but from the weight of what Keanu had just seen. As he and Anna moved deeper into the trees, away from the ranger station, his mind couldn't let go of the glimpse he caught before they fled. A flash of a face behind the tree line, half shadowed by branches but unmistakably familiar. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't one of the faceless men who had been chasing them. It was someone from his past, someone he had once mourned, someone who, by every truth he knew, should not be alive. His breath caught in his throat as he remembered the photo he had seen years ago. A coffin, a funeral, soil hitting wood. But the eyes behind that tree were real, alive, and filled with something he hadn't seen in them before: regret, maybe even warning. They found temporary shelter in an abandoned barn half a mile up the trail. The door creaked as they slipped inside, the air musty and thick with dust and time. Hay lay in clumps across the floor, and beams of moonlight filtered in through the cracks in the slanted roof. Anna dropped to the ground near an old wooden crate, her hands trembling slightly, her adrenaline finally crashing into exhaustion. Keanu remained standing, staring at nothing, lost in a memory that refused to stay buried. Anna noticed. She didn't say anything at first. She just watched him, studied the way he stood. Frozen, like he was somewhere else entirely. "Keanu," she finally said softly, "what did you see back there?" He blinked slowly, then turned to her. And for the first time since all of this began, his voice wasn't calm. It wasn't steady. It cracked. "Gabriel," he said. Anna frowned. "Who?" "My brother." Anna sat up straighter, confused. "I didn't know you had a brother." "Most people don't," he said. "We were close, really close. Growing up, he was the protector, the smart one, the one who always saw through the lies. But he got into something deep, dangerous. He started working in intelligence, covert. Contracts, digital surveillance, some things even he couldn't talk about. And then he died. 10 years ago. Anna's voice was barely above a whisper. "But he's not dead." Keanu shook his head slowly. "Either I'm losing my mind, or the man who stepped into his grave walked out of it long after." Anna stood and walked to him, the weight of this new twist settling between them like thunder without sound. Why would he fake his death? Keanu took a deep breath, then reached into his pocket and pulled out the folded photograph from the attacker's jacket. He held it out to her. "This wasn't taken by just anyone. This is professional surveillance. Clean, calculated. And it means we're being tracked not by freelancers or hitmen, but by people who have serious resources. Maybe government level." Anna stared at the photo again, then lowered it, her eyes darkening. "You think your brother is part of it?" Keanu didn't answer right away. He walked to the barn wall and leaned his head against the old wooden boards. "I think my sister and my brother were both involved in something a long time ago. Something secret. She wanted out. He stayed in. And now, someone's making sure whatever they knew stays buried." The silence grew heavy between them, but not empty. It was the kind of silence that meant decisions were being made. Anna stepped closer. "So what do we do now?" Keanu turned to her, something different in his eyes. Focus. Fire. "We find Gabriel, and we make him tell us the truth." Just then, a low beeping sound pierced the silence. Anna's phone lit up again. A new message. No name. Just an attachment. She opened it. A short video began to play. A dimly lit hallway. A camera angle from the ceiling. A figure walking slowly. Anna, then another figure, Keanu, steps into the frame, handing her the brown paper package with the book. But this time, the video doesn't end there. It cuts to another clip. Keanu's trailer, the break-in. A masked figure moving swiftly, pulling the box from its shelf. And for 1 second, the mask slips just enough to reveal a portion of the face. Anna gasped. It wasn't Gabriel. It was someone else she knew. Someone from set. Someone they'd smiled at that very morning. "It's Danny," she said, shaking. "He works in sound. He was the one who adjusted my mic this morning. He's crew." Keanu's expression darkened. "They've infiltrated the production." "But why?" she asked. "What do they want with the film?" Keanu stepped back, thinking hard. "Maybe the film isn't the target. Maybe it's the cover, a reason for me to come back to this city, to bring me close enough to watch. Close. Enough to strike." Anna sat down heavily, her mind spinning. "We've been playing into their hands the entire time." Keanu didn't sit. He paced. "Fast now. Then it's time we change the rules. They want to watch us. Let them. But from now on, we lead them." Anna looked up at him. "To where?" His jaw set. "To the one place they thought we'd never go." "And where's that?" He looked out through a crack in the barn wall toward the horizon where the sky was beginning to pale with the first light of dawn. "My father's safe house," he said. "He built it during the Cold War, never told anyone where it was, except Gabriel. And me." Anna rose to her feet, feeling the weight of this new direction. "Will it be safe?" "No," Keanu said, his eyes steel. "But it'll be honest, and—" Just as the first rays of sunlight cut through the darkness and landed on the dirt floor of the barn, a single text arrived on Anna's phone, this time. Not from an anonymous number, but from a contact that had been long deleted. "Meet me where the ashes were buried. I owe you both the truth. G." Anna showed the screen to Keanu, his face turned to stone. "He knows we saw him." Anna nodded. "And he wants us to come." Keanu took one long breath, then said the words that neither of them could take back. "Then let's go meet the dead." Where the ashes waited. The sun had barely risen above the horizon as Keanu and Anna drove in silence down a winding road that led into the forgotten outskirts of the desert. The dry wind whipped around the Mustang as the hills grew taller and the vegetation sparser. Everything felt stripped down, raw, like the moment before a storm. Keanu's fingers were tight on the wheel. His mind was heavier than the engine's hum. This wasn't just about solving a mystery anymore. This was personal. Everything that had been buried, every grief, every silence, every unanswered question, was rising from the ground all at once. The message from Gabriel had been clear. Meet me where the ashes were buried. Keanu knew exactly what that meant. Years ago, when his brother's funeral took place, there had been no body, only a symbolic urn placed under a lone oak tree in a quiet, fenced field near their childhood home. A ritual without closure. Now it seemed the grave was not just a metaphor, it was a doorway. As the car pulled up near the tree, Anna looked around. The place was hauntingly still. No other vehicles, no footprints, only the old gate, rusted and hanging open, and the low whistle of wind through the dry grass. "Are you sure he's coming?" Anna asked, her voice soft. Keanu nodded once. He was always the one who kept his word, even when it broke everything else. They stepped out of the car and walked toward the oak tree. Its branches stretched wide and low, as if they carried the weight of every secret whispered beneath its leaves. Keanu stood before the small plaque that read, "Gabriel Reeves, loyal son, lost too soon." He stared at it for a long time. Then behind them, gravel shifted. They both turned. Gabriel stood at the edge of the field, dressed in a black jacket, his hair longer now, his beard rough. Time had carved lines into his face, but those eyes, those piercing, haunted eyes, were exactly the same. Anna stepped closer first, instinctively putting herself between the brothers. Gabriel raised a hand. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Keanu's voice was low, controlled. "You already did." Gabriel nodded slowly. "I know. They stood in that strange silence for a moment, the kind that exists only between people who once loved each other and have since been separated by things words can't fix. Gabriel finally spoke. "I didn't fake my death to hide. I did it to protect her." "Our sister?" Keanu asked. Gabriel nodded. "She was the one who cracked the Vanguard protocol. She found out it wasn't just data surveillance, it was targeted manipulation. Private citizens, foreign assets, even actors and public figures, they were building influence, quietly, globally. She wanted to expose them." Keanu's hands balled into fists. "And you let her die for it?" Gabriel's voice broke. "I tried to stop it, but they were faster, and the only way I could try to dismantle it was from the inside. The second she was gone, they turned their focus to you, not because of what you knew, but because of who you are. Public, powerful, trusted," Anna whispered, stunned. "They wanted to use Keanu to shape people's minds." Gabriel nodded. "Your movies, your image, your influence, they were going to leverage it. Through scripts, roles, endorsements. But when you walked away from Hollywood for a while, when you started living simply, donating, disappearing into silence, they lost their grip." Keanu looked at him, pain rising in his chest. "So why now? Why come out of the dark?" Gabriel reached into his coat and pulled out the box, the same one that had been taken from Keanu's trailer. He placed it gently at Keanu's feet. "Because they're moving fast now. Cleaning house. They found me out. I barely made it out alive last week, and the only person they fear enough to expose them is you." Anna's voice trembled. "What's in the box?" Gabriel looked at her. "Everything. Names, recordings, timelines, proof." Keanu stared at his brother, his voice barely audible. "And what do you want me to do?" Gabriel stepped closer. "Be what they can't control. Be loud. Be brave. Use your voice, Keanu. Use who you are." There was a long silence. Then Keanu knelt, opened the box slowly, and pulled out a bundle of documents, a flash drive, and a single photograph. The three of them as children, playing under this very tree, back when everything was pure, before the world taught them to hide and survive. Anna looked at him, tears in her eyes. "What happens now?" Keanu stood slowly. "We make it public, all of it." "They'll come for you," Gabriel said. Keanu looked at him, unwavering. "Let them." Gabriel nodded, kind of broken pride in his expression. "Then my job is done." He turned to leave, but Keanu grabbed his arm. "Don't disappear again." Gabriel paused, then looked back, eyes shining. "I won't. Not this time." They watched him walk away into the light of the rising sun, his shadow stretching far, behind him like a memory, finally ready to let go. Weeks later, the world shook. A major press outlet broke the story. Whistleblowers came forward. Documentaries began production. Investigations were launched. And at the center of it all, a calm voice delivering a speech not from a red carpet or a movie set, but from the steps of a courthouse, holding a worn book in one hand and a letter in the other. "Truth," Keanu said to the crowd, "doesn't need a spotlight. It only needs a voice willing to stand still in the storm." Beside him, Anna stood silently, strong as ever. Her career had changed. Her life had changed. But she had no regrets. And on a quiet hill, beneath a weathered oak tree, 3 plaques now stood, one for a sister, one for a lie, and one left blank, waiting for a name not yet written. Because this story wasn't about endings. It was about the moments that come after, the ones where you choose to speak, to stay, to rise.